Exhibit 3. Declaration of JILZ. I, JILZ, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My date of birth is, I am 5 years old. I am from Honduras. I left Honduras with my father because Honduras is a dangerous place to live. My father's name is WL. My mother already fled to the United States and is living in North Carolina. My mother's name is Easy. I was apprehended with my father. The immigration agent separated me from my father right away. I was very frightened and scared. I cried. I have not seen my father again. I was brought to this facility, Clint CBP. I have been at this facility for several days. I have not been told how long I have to stay here. I am frightened, scared, and sad. I have had a cold and cough for several days. I have seen no doctor, and I have not been given any medicine. It is cold at night when we sleep. I have shoes but no socks. Initially, I had to sleep on the floor, but now I have a bed. I, JILZ, swear on the penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. Certificate of Translation. I, Bill Anhing, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish, and that I read the above declaration to JILZ in Spanish, executed this June 18, 2019 in Clint, Texas. Bill Anhing, University of San Francisco Law School.
Exhibit 8. Declaration of LGLL. I, LGLL, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. I am 12 years old and from Guatemala. I was apprehended with my cousin, who is 11 years old. We were taken into custody by Border Patrol shortly after crossing into the United States on or about the evening of May 20th, 2019. I don't exactly remember where we crossed into the United States, but we crossed through a river. The officers had us take off and give them our shoelaces, belts, and valuables. We were then transported to a detention center where I was held for about 8 days. There were many children there, perhaps about 200 or 300 kids. The lights were on all the time, including all night there. I was allowed to make one phone call while I was there. I called my 24-year-old brother, who lives in California. At this detention center, I received meals 3 times a day: oatmeal for breakfast, soup for lunch, and a burrito for dinner. We also got cookies 4 times a day. We weren't given milk, fruit, or vegetables. I was not allowed to bathe while I was there. After 5 days, I was taken to a second detention center where I was held for 2 days. Here, I was also not allowed to bathe. It was very cold. I got sick because it was so cold. I had a fever, a headache, a throat ache, and aches all around my body. I told the guards I was sick, and they let me see a doctor or a nurse who took my temperature and gave me medicine. I was sick for a total of 5 days. Throughout that time, I was with all the other kids. No one took me to a separate place for sick kids. The guards at the second facility were mean and scary. They yelled at us. One day, the guards demanded to know who had food. Whoever has food will go to prison, they yelled. They wanted to know if anyone had snuck in food in the cell. They found one kid who was about 15 or 16 years old who had a burrito, pudding, and juice. The officials handcuffed his wrists. My cousin and I were very shocked and scared. They also made us clean our own sleeping area. Then my cousin was sent away to Casa Hogar. I felt very sad to be separated from him. I miss him. I have not been able to talk with him since we were separated. While I still had a fever, I was transported here to the Clint station. I have been at the Clint station for about 17 days. In the place I am, there have been about 70 boys in my cell, but now there are fewer boys, perhaps about 40 boys. They are mostly around 11 to 17 years old, but there are younger kids too. There have been boys as young as 3 or 4 years old in the cell with me. The 3-year-old had a brother with him. The 4-year-old came to the United States with an uncle, but they separated him, so he has no one here. It is very sad here. We all want to leave. Here at Clint, I've bathed 4 or 5 times for 2 or 3 minutes each time. There are bathrooms in my cell, but there is no soap for washing our hands. There is disinfectant, though. We're sometimes allowed to make phone calls in the afternoon. However, it is not possible to eat your lunch and make a phone call. We have to choose between eating lunch and making a phone call. I don't know why. But I miss my family so much. I have skipped lunch 3 times, and I've made 3 calls here. Twice I called my brother, and once I called my father. I wish I could talk with my loved ones for longer. I wish I did not have to choose between making calls and talking with my family. I'm hungry here at Clint all the time. I'm so hungry that I've woken up in the middle of the night with hunger. Sometimes I wake up from hunger at 4 a.m., sometimes at other hours. I'm too scared to ask the officials here for any food, even though there is not enough food here for me. In the morning, we get oatmeal, pudding, and juice. In the afternoon, we get soup, a cookie, and juice. For dinner, we get a burrito, pudding, and juice. The burritos have beans and cheese. Occasionally, we can get more food from the guards, but it depends on which guards and how friendly they are. I saw a child ask for more food once, and the guard told him, "No, you've had your ration." Sometimes the younger kids get an extra chocolate pudding. I need more food, too. I haven't received any information about the process for leaving here or when I can leave here. I want to go live with my brother in California. His telephone number is, he lives in California. I love school. I want to continue working hard in school. I really enjoy studying. I haven't received any information about my rights under Flores. I, LGLL, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. Certificate of Translation. I, Alora Mukherjee, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish and that I read the above declaration to LGLL in Spanish. Executed this 1st of June in Clint, Texas. Alora Mukherjee, Columbia Law School.
Exhibit 9. Declaration of MFMO. I, MFMO, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My name is MFMO, and I am 12 years old. My date of birth is... I am currently detained here at the Clint CBP station with my 8-year-old sister and my 4-year-old sister. We are from Ecuador. The 3 of us crossed the border by land with our grandmother and a few other people on or about June 16th, 2019. We were taken into custody by Border Patrol officers shortly after. The officers took everything from us except our documents. They even took our shoelaces. There was a mother in our group traveling with a very young baby. The officers took her diapers, baby formula, and nearly everything else she had and threw it away. They left her with just 2 shirts and 1 pair of pants for the baby. The mother really wanted to keep the diapers because her baby was allergic to regular diapers, but the officers didn't listen. Then the officers took my sisters, my grandmother, and me to a place where we were kept for 1 day. It was night by the time we got there. The first facility where we were detained had both indoor and outdoor spaces. You could be inside or outside when you wanted. We stayed inside during the day because it was so hot outside. At night, the indoor part of the facility was extremely cold, so my youngest sister wanted to be outside. All the bathrooms were in the space outside. The toilets did not flush. There was no soap to wash our hands. We have not had a single opportunity to bathe or shower since we crossed the border. We received 2 meals at the first facility. First, we received a hamburger. The next day, we were given a type of meat and apple juice. We also received an orange and an apple there. There was also powdered baby formula or milk and diapers for babies at this facility. My sisters and I did not receive any milk or vegetables there. It was very cold indoors when we arrived at the first facility. There were no mattresses and no mats. We only received sheets that were very thin and made of cloth. The lights were on the whole time. My sisters, our grandmother, and I all lay together on the floor. It was difficult to sleep. At 3 a.m. the next day, the officers told us that our grandmother would be taken away. My grandmother tried to show the officers a paper signed by my parents saying that my grandmother had been entrusted to take care of us. The officers rejected the paperwork, saying it had to be signed by a judge. Then the officers took my dear grandmother away. We have not seen her since that moment. I felt extremely sad when they separated us from our grandmother, and I still feel sad that we are apart. Thinking about this makes me cry at times. The officers didn't give us any information about how we could reunite with our grandmother. My sisters are still upset because they love her so much and want to be with her. Every night they cry for our grandmother and our mother. Later in the morning, my sisters and I were taken to the Clint station where we have been held for 2 days so far. I'm in a room with my sisters and many other girls. There are mats for me and my sisters, but they are quite hard. Many of the girls in my room have been there at least 8 to 10 days. There have also been little boys in our room. They have been there for shorter amounts of time, about 2 to 3 days. There are children in my room who are older and younger than me. My little sister is the youngest one there. There are many young children who don't have siblings to help care for them. It is a very sad situation. I am always hungry here, and I wish I had more food. My sisters are hungry too. The staff here feed us 3 times a day. For breakfast, we get sweetened oatmeal and different types of juice. For lunch, we receive food that can be cooked quickly. They cook the soup for 3 minutes and give it to us with a cookie. Then for dinner, we get burritos. The burritos here are different from the kinds we used to buy in Mexico. Here, all the burritos have is beans and pico. We are used to eating burritos with meat. Everyone here is hungry because there is not sufficient food. I've never asked for more food here because everyone here is only allowed to get 1 tray of food. I've talked to the other girls here and asked them if we can get more food. Basically, the answer is no, but you can trade parts of your meals with the other girls to try to get more of the food you like. It's difficult for me to care for my sisters here. It's hard because they are very hungry and they don't like the food here. I also do not like the food here. There are limited times for the girls to go outside, and there are limited times for the boys to go outside. My youngest sister is used to playing outside all the time when she wants to, so for her it has been especially hard not to be able to go outside. When we go outside, my sisters try to play with the ball and run around, but it's a very small space. There is not enough room for all the kids to play. The water here is horrible. It tastes like chlorine. We can use cups to drink the water, but the water tastes awful, and I don't like it at all. None of the kids here like the water. The officials here are very bad to us. During the night when we're trying to sleep, they come in and wake us up, yelling and scaring us. Sometimes children rise up in the night and officials yell at them to lay back down. The guards who are yelling don't speak much Spanish, so it's hard to understand what they're saying. My sisters and I are very scared when they yell at us and other children. There are a lot of girls at this place with the flu. There's a big room that's filled with the children that have the flu. There are a lot of big mosquitoes here, and maybe that is the reason so many children have the flu here. Neither my sisters nor I have seen a doctor since we crossed the border. We saw doctors come to the Clint facility, but they only met with the kids who were already sick. One child was here for 7 days and got sick, and now has been here a very long time. There is a girl here from El Salvador and a boy from Guatemala who have been here for almost a month. They both got infections in their lungs and have to stay here. They cannot be released because they need to take pills for a month. Since crossing the border, we have not had any opportunity to bathe. We have not had the opportunity to brush our teeth. We haven't had an opportunity to wash our clothes here either. Our mother and father live in Massachusetts. My father has been here about 4 years, and my mother has been here for about 2 years. I have other family members like aunts and uncles in Massachusetts. My sisters and I would like to be released to our parents. Yesterday, an officer told us that it would be 2 to 3 days until we were reunited with our mother. Later yesterday, another official told us it would be 15 days or 10 days until we are reunited with our mother. Every night, my sisters keep asking me, when will our mommy come get us? I don't know what to tell them. It's very hard for all of us to be here. I have been able to make only 1 phone call since crossing the border, and it was to my mother today. She told me my grandmother is at another detention facility. I am worried about the very young children here who do not know what country they are from and where they should go. I worry about the many children who do not have passports. There is one very young girl in my room, only 6 years old, who doesn't know where she is from or where she is supposed to go. I don't know what will happen to her. She arrived here 5 days ago. When we came here yesterday, I asked her who she was with. She said she was with her father, but they had been separated. The officials told her that her father would have to come get her. I do not know if that will happen. I have not received any information about the Flores settlement or my right to be released from here. I want to leave this place with my sisters as quickly as possible. Children should not be here. I, MFMO, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. I, Elora Mukherjee, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish, and that I read the above declaration to MF in Spanish. Executed this 18th of June in Clint, Texas. Elora Mukherjee, Columbia Law School.
Exhibit 10. Declaration of MCL and LLO, my little sister. I, MZL, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My little sister and I came from Honduras. She is 6 years old and I am 8 years old. Our grandmother brought us to the United States so that we can live with our mother because it is not safe for us to stay in Honduras. Our mother lives in Houston. Our grandmother put our mother's telephone number in my jacket so that we can call her, but we have only spoken to her once in 3 weeks. One time, my sister asked an official if we could please call her mom. The official said we had to wait. We talked to her 1 week after we got in a truck with border officials. Our stepdad's telephone number is. They took us away from our grandmother and now we are all alone. They have not given us to our mother. We have been here for a long time. I have to take care of my little sister. She is very sad because she misses our mother and grandmother very much. My sister has been very sick. The doctor told her not to cry because if she cries, she will get sicker. One of the children in our cell is mean to us and tell us that we can't play and that we will be locked in a dark room here. I believe her and don't want to be locked in the dark room. We sleep on a cement bench. There are 2 mats in the room, but the big kids sleep on the mats, so we have to sleep on the cement bench. We have been sleeping on the cement bench ever since we came here, except when my sister got sick. She was quarantined and she got to sleep on a mat on the floor in another room. We have only been allowed to go outside 4 times. I have been only allowed to bathe twice since we came here. My sister has only been allowed to bathe once. The water is very cold. Some kids don't mind the cold water, but I wish it is warm. We have only been allowed to brush our teeth twice here. There is no soap except when you take a bath. We have been wearing the same clothes the entire time we have been here, and no one has washed them. My sister and I hold a blanket up for one another so no one can see us when we go to the bathroom. I, MZL, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was read to me in Spanish, a language in which I'm fluent. Certificate of Translation. I, Catherine Hagan, certify that I'm fluent in English and Spanish, and that I read the above declaration to MZL in Spanish. Catherine Hagan, June 18, 2019.
Exhibit 12. Declaration of WASG. I, WASG, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My date of birth is, I am 12 years old. I am from Guatemala. My brother is 4 years old. My brother and I were living with my aunt and my uncle. We left Guatemala with my uncle because we lived in a dangerous neighborhood filled with gangs and drug dealers. My father was violent and he abandoned us. My mother fled to the United States when my brother was 9 months old. She lives in Miami, Florida. When we arrived at the border with my uncle, he was separated from us. I do not know where he is. My brother and I were taken to a freezer box for about 10 hours, where we were only given some cookies to eat. It was cold. My brother was given a blanket, but I was not given one. We were not allowed to bathe. All of our possessions were thrown away. We were then brought to a Clint CBP facility. My brother and I have been at the Clint CBP facility for about 13 days. I was able to call my mother once. I have not been told when or whether we will be released from custody. My brother has a learning disability. He cannot speak very clearly, but I understand him. I've taken care of him since he was a baby. He trusts me. He received some education, but it wasn't special. He knows how to count. At Clint, we are housed in rooms with a dozen of other children, some as young as 2 years old. Many do not have their parents with them. I have to take care of many of the other children who are sad and cry. I do my best to help other children who are sad. My brother and I have not been given any new clothes. We have only bathed once. Our clothes are the same clothes that we had on when we arrived. We have not been given soap. We are not permitted to play outside on a regular basis. We were given toothbrushes, but my brother lost his, and they will not be replaced. I, WASG, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete, and to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. Certificate of Translation. I, Bill Owen Hing, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish, and that I read the above declaration to WASG in Spanish. Educated this June 18th, 2019 in Clint, Texas. Signed, Bill Owen Hing, University of San Francisco School of Law.
Exhibit 17. Declaration of BPMM. I, BPMM, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. I, BPMM, was born on... I am 16. My daughter is 8 months old. We are from Honduras. I was apprehended with my infant around May 28, 2019 in the afternoon. After crossing the river and walking for about half an hour, Border Patrol apprehended us. The agents transported us to an immigration center in a bus. The trip was about an hour. When we arrived at the center, I was given a bottle of water and a churro. They had no bottles, diapers, or anything for my baby. We were there for a short time and then transported to the dog pound. The trip took about 45 minutes. We arrived at the dog pound around 6 p.m. When we arrived, they took the clothes my baby was wearing and the backpack with all of her clothing, medicine, and milk. We were not given any food or water or anything to drink. We were put into a 3-sided cage with the 4th side open to the outside, filled with loads of people, too many to count. Children, pregnant mothers, and mothers with babies. There was nowhere to sit. There were so many people. We had to wait for someone to stand up and quickly take their place on the ground. My baby was naked outside with no blanket for all 4 days we were there. We were freezing. My baby couldn't sleep because the ground was cement with rocks, and in some places only rocks. And every time she moved, the sharp ground would scratch her. There were many pregnant women who had to sleep on rocks, and I felt very badly for them. In the morning, we tried again to sleep because it was a little warmer. They gave me a rotten sandwich that I could not eat. They gave me a little bit of milk and told me to mix it with water for the baby. The water was very bad. I did not eat for 2 days, and the baby only had a very little bit of milk. The water came from a jug, smelled bad, and people had to share cups. It was absolutely terrible, and I could not drink it. The baby had a cough and a cold when we arrived, and after the first day, the baby was much sicker. Her cough and cold were worse, and she had a very high fever. There were no doctors or medicine. The guards told me that keeping my sick baby outside would be good for her. There were many, many sick children there, a lot with fevers. When I would ask for diapers, I often had to wait a very long time, and I was only given 2 or 3 baby wipes. I had to change the baby on the ground. Diapers were not given to children who were 2 years or older. The guard said they should not need them. During the day, it was incredibly hot, and at night, it was very cold. There was only a small roof area with shade, and people would crowd there, trying to get away from the sun. It was the same every day we were there, and we suffered every day. Around 2 or 3 a.m. on the 5th day, we were brought here to the Ursula Processing Center. When we arrived, they took the baby's temperature. She had a high fever, and they gave her medicine, clothes, and formula. We were put into a cage inside a large building. There are a lot of other mothers with children. There are not many places to sit, and we have to sleep on very small, thin mats on the floor. There are thin foil blankets only. It is very crowded, and there is no room. The lights are very bright and on all the time, and it is very noisy and impossible to sleep. My baby was sleeping on a mat in the middle of the night, and the guards made me wake her up to take her to a changing area. There are 7 portable toilets near the cage, but not inside. We have to get in line to go to the restroom. The toilets are extremely dirty. There's no soap or water to wash your hands. In the cage, there is a table with a jug of water and formula. The water is very bad. I use the bottled water from my meals to mix the formula for my baby. I only have one bottle to use over and over and no way to wash it. The day after we arrived here, my baby began vomiting and having diarrhea. I asked to see a doctor and they did not take us. I asked again the next day and the guard said she doesn't have the face of a sick baby. She doesn't need to see a doctor. My baby daughter has not had any medicine since we first arrived. She has a very bad cough, fever, and continues to vomit and have diarrhea. We are only given baby food sometimes, but I'm afraid to ask too often because the guards are very mean. In 4 days, they have only given us baby food once. Before we came here, my baby was eating baby food regularly during the day as well as eating some adult food. She could not eat the food here. It makes the adult sick and it would be worse for a baby. Since we arrived here, my baby has lost a lot of weight. Her pants are very loose now. She is not sleeping because she is sick, and it is very loud. She cries a lot and is listless. The food here is terrible, the bread is bitter, the water in the jug is bad and makes me feel sick, and I use my bottled water to make my baby's bottles. When I ask for more water, the guards are very mean and tell me that the baby and I don't need it. I am not able to eat or drink much. My stomach hurts and I have a headache all the time. I have lost a lot of weight here too. And I am very scared and anxious. It makes me feel very bad the way they treat us. It is hard being so young and being a mother. After 8 days here at Ursula, we were finally able to shower and I was given clean clothes. I want to go live with my father, SRM, who lives in North Carolina. His phone number is... I have not been told about our rights or what is going to happen to us. I, BPMM, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was read back to me in Spanish, a language which I am fluent. Certificate of Translation. I, Kathy O. Gorman, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish and that I read the above declaration to BPMM in Spanish, executed in McAllen, Texas. Signed, Kathy O. Gorman, Center for Human Rights and Constitutional Law.
Exhibit 50. Declaration of GMMA. I, GMMA, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My date of birth is... I am 17 years old. I am from El Salvador. I came with my younger brother, who is 13 years old, and with my older brother, who is 25 years old. When I got to the U.S., Border Patrol got me within 5 minutes or so. They took me to a place with tents, and they took my fingerprints and gave me a number. The main reason I left El Salvador because the gang MS-13 was threatening us. I lived there with my older brother and my younger brother. The older one has a business, and MS-13 was telling him he had to give them $5 every day. When he couldn't do that anymore, they started coming to my school to find me and tell me they were going to hurt me and do horrible things to me. I didn't go to school for 2 weeks, and I was terrified. I couldn't leave my house. My mother and father are both in the United States, so I wanted to come to live with them to be safe. I was allowed to talk with my mother yesterday, but it was only for 1 minute. The guard told me to hurry up, and he made me hang up after just 1 minute. I've been here at Clint Border Patrol for 7 days. When they brought me to the tent place, it was about 2 in the afternoon. I was in the tent about 1 hour. They gave me a burrito and apple juice, but they told me to eat fast, and I was so scared, my hand was shaking and I couldn't drink the juice. They separated me from my brothers there. They put me in a room that was freezing, and 3 other girls there gave me a sweater to try to keep me warm. I was still freezing. There were 2 blankets on the floor that were like aluminum, but the officials didn't give me one. There were 4 of us in the room. I slept on the floor until they woke us up at about 2 in the morning to look at my documents, and at 4, they woke us up again to bring me here, Clint Border Patrol Station. When I got here, sat on the floor until 11 in the morning. They gave me oatmeal, juice, and a chocolate pudding. I eat what everyone else here eats, and I'm always really hungry. Between lunch and dinner, I can get a cookie. 1 cookie, but that's all. I'm losing weight. I can't see my younger brother who is also here. I asked permission to see him and they said no. There was one day when he asked and they finally let us see each other for about 3 minutes. I was very happy to see him, but it was very hard too. I don't know where my older brother is. I think he is in prison and will be deported, but I don't know. I told the guard yesterday that I felt sick because I had a sore throat. I went to the doctor and she said I had a little fever, but she didn't look at my throat. She gave me a piece of candy and sent me back to the room I was in. I felt worse later, my throat hurt more, and when I asked to see the doctor again, the doctor said she was very busy and I should go back and wait. I went back again and had to wait an hour. She didn't do anything to help. I feel sicker today. My throat is very sore. The room I'm in had about 40 girls in it at the beginning, but now it's mostly very small children. There are about 28 now. 2 of them, a girl who is 4 and another who is 5, don't know their names and don't know where they're from. The 4-year-old has been here a long time and the other about 10 days. They don't have a mother or father to care for them, so 2 girls are taking care of them. There are 8 bunk beds and 2 mats on the floor for sleeping. The smaller ones sleep in the beds, and the ones here the longest time sleep on the mats on the floor. The beds are next to one another, so we all sleep next to one another. I don't sleep much because the air bothers me. The toilet is in the same room we're in. There is no curtain or anything. We try to hold a cover up when we use it, but the girls on the top bunk beds can see everything. There is water, but no soap to wash our hands after using the bathroom. The water they give us makes us sicker. It smells like chlorine. One of the guards came in yesterday afternoon and asked us how many stripes were on the flag of the United States. We tried to guess, but when we were wrong, he slammed the door. I, GMMA, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. Certificate of Translation. I, Kathleen O'Gorman, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish and that I read the above declaration to GMMA in Spanish. Signed, Kathleen O'Gorman, Illinois Wesleyan University, June 19th, 2019.
Exhibit 59. Declaration of MJS. I, MJS, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. I am 14 years old and my date of birth is... I come from a province called Zela in Guatemala. I speak Spanish and my mom is better than my Spanish. Spanish is a bit difficult for me, but I am able to get through with some Spanish. I came to the United States with a 33-year-old family friend who is also a neighbor. When we got to the US border, we looked for a Border Patrol agent to turn ourselves in. I had been housed at the Clint facility for 21 days. I was in the first cell for 7 days, sleeping with no mattress. We had fabric blankets in our cell, but no mattresses. It is hard to sleep when you don't have a mattress. I then came down with the flu. I then went into the flu cell for 7 days. When you're in the flu cell, you also sleep on the floor, but you have a mattress. There were 21 other kids in that space with the flu. I had a fever in there, and I was shaking. Some of the other kids were vomiting. They all had fevers. No one was taking care of the kids with the flu. They were all teenagers. Now I understand that there were some small children inside the flu cell. I don't know who is taking care of them. We were not allowed to leave the flu cell ever. It was very boring. I did nothing to entertain myself, nor was anything offered. It was sad, very sad. I felt locked up and closed in. In the other cells, we can go out of the cell to get water one time a day. They say we can go outside once a day, but I don't go because I am afraid of them yelling at me. I've only been outside twice in the 21 days since I've been here. After the flu cell, I went into a new cell. There are about 30 people in the same cell with me. At first, I was sleeping on the ground, and then for the last 5 days, I've been sleeping in a bed. Every day, we get the same food: oatmeal, instant soup, and a burrito. It's not enough. In the afternoons, I get very hungry. The burritos we are given are not filling. I have not talked to any family since I've been here. I have not spoken to my mother and don't know why I've been here so long. I just want to get out of here. When I finally leave here, I think I will be sent to a different place. We are told that we will go from here to a shelter. Sometimes when we ask, we are told we will be here for months. I, MJS, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. Signed, MJS, June 17th, 2019.
Exhibit 62. Declaration of YAMA. I, YAMA, declare under penalty of perjury that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. My date of birth is, I am 13 years old. I am from El Salvador. I came with my older sister, who was 17 years old, and with my older brother, who was 25 years old. The Border Patrol picked me up about 5 minutes after I got to the United States. They took me to a place with tents and gave me a number. There were about 50 males in the place they put me. It was freezing. They were all in a group from Honduras, and they were all ages from 3 years old to my age to a lot older. My brother wasn't with me, and I was scared because I didn't know what was happening to him or my sister. I was sleeping on the floor, and they called me at about 1 in the morning. The light was on all the time. I asked for water, but they told me no, because I didn't have a bottle. After they called me, they called 2 other teenagers, and they put us in the room with my sister and 3 other girls for about 20 minutes. They made us get in a line, and they brought us here in a van. The main reason I left El Salvador was because the gang MS-13 was threatening us. I lived there with my older brother and my sister. My older brother has a business, and MS-13 was telling him he had to give them $5 every day. When he couldn't, they said they were going to come after him. There are a lot of the gang members in my school. They made fun of me about my braces. It got worse, and they started following me home. There are about 20 people killed every day in my community, so I was really scared since I tried to stay away from them, but they were following me. I got here, the Clint Border Patrol Station, about 4 in the morning. Around 7, they gave us food. It was the same breakfast we always have: oatmeal, juice, a cookie. They separated me from my brother and sister. When they did that, I felt desperation. I still feel desperate because when I ask to see my sister, they don't let me. There was one time I asked on a Saturday, and they let me see her for about 3 minutes. They said there had to be an official there with us the whole time. A guard was close to us the entire time, so we couldn't have privacy. When I got here, the room I was in had about 68 males. Now it has about 38. When I first got here, there weren't enough beds to go around, so I slept on the floor. Yesterday was the first time I could sleep in a bed. I had a metallic bed. I sleep very badly because the TV is on all night. At about 6 in the morning, one of the officials put music on very loud to wake us up. There are a lot of sick people in my room. I have a mask, so I won't get sick. The toilet is outside in a plastic place. There isn't water or soap to wash our hands after we use the bathroom. We have to ask for toilet paper if we want any. Some officials let us use the bathroom at night, and some don't let us. I'm always hungry. If I ask for food, they don't give it to me. I was allowed to talk with my mother on Saturday, but it was only for 1 minute. The guard told me to hurry up, and he made me hang up after just 1 minute. I've been there at Clint Border Patrol for 7 days. There is a 17-year-old in my room who is the leader. He helps the guards get us in a line and do other things, so he is the favorite with another guy. They get twice the food as the rest of us for helping the guards. We get a cookie at night. Last night, a 5-year-old boy wanted to help the official give out the cookies to everyone, but the 17-year-old said he was the one who did that. The brother of the 5-year-old came over and started yelling, telling the 17-year-old to let his little brother help. The 17-year-old reported him to the official, and the official came over and said the older brother should not say anything to the 17-year-old because he was the one who helped all the time. He yelled at the brother of the little boy and said next time he would punish him. I took 2 showers, but each one has to be a 1-minute shower, and then I have to get dressed. We have toothbrushes, but no toothpaste. I, YAMA, swear under penalty of perjury that the above declaration is true and complete to the best of my abilities. This declaration was provided in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent, and was read back to me in Spanish. I, Kathleen O'Gorman, certify that I am fluent in English and Spanish, and that I read the above declaration in Spanish. Kathleen O'Gorman, Illinois Wesleyan University, June 19th, 2019.
Exhibit 69. I, W. Warren H. Binford, declare as follows. This declaration is based on my personal knowledge, except as to those matters based on information and belief, which I believe to be true. If called to testify in this case, I would testify competently about these facts. I am a professor of law and director of the clinical law program at Willamette University College of Law. I have a BA summa cum laude with distinction and a master's degree in early childhood education from Boston University and a JD from Harvard Law School. I am currently licensed as an early childhood teacher in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and previously administered a licensed infant and toddler center in California. I have experience teaching in a preschool, as well as in several classrooms in disadvantaged communities in first grade, Massachusetts, Year 1, London, and 7th, 8th, and 9th grades in South Central Los Angeles. Among other responsibilities, I teach the Child and Family Advocacy Clinic at Willamette, which provides support and advocacy to children and families in crisis. I have served as a volunteer attorney in Flores v. Barr since 2017 and have visited numerous child detention centers to conduct site visits and interview children. From June 17th to 20th, 2019, I participated in interviews of Flores class members at the Clint Border Patrol facility in Clint, Texas. When we first arrived, we were provided a roster of children being kept at the facility as of June 17, 2019. The roster listed 351 children. Of these children, 102 were listed between the ages of 0 and 12 years of age. The chief agent at the facility, Matt Harris, advised us that this facility had a previous maximum occupancy of 104 persons, but that a recent expansion had increased capacity to 600 persons. We requested a tour of the facility, but our request was denied. In reviewing the roster on Monday, June 17, 2019, our team noticed that there appeared to be several child mothers and their infants at the Clint Border Patrol facility. We immediately asked the Border Patrol to bring us 1, the child mothers and their infants, as well as 2, the youngest children, and 3, the children who had been there the longest. Border Patrol employees questioned our decision to interview the youngest children and explained that they would need their caregivers to come with them, which we assured them was fine. After this initial request, we requested children from these categories by name. When the children arrived, they were visibly dirty. In the 4 days I was there, I saw the bodily fluids on their clothing that appeared to include breast milk, urine, mucus, and saliva. There were many other stains I could not identify. Some of the children had odors, and others had visible rashes. Many showed signs of illness, including coughs, congestion, fever, and lethargy. One 4-year-old was especially dirty and had scalp skin flakes visible on her hair, which was so matted on the back of her head that I feared that her hair might have to be cut off. I spoke to a Border Patrol employee and asked him to please ensure she was given a bath and that her hair was shampooed and brushed out. The next day, I asked if that had been done and was assured that it had been. I asked a Border Patrol employee to bring me the little girl, and when she arrived, she was just as dirty and her hair was just as matted as the previous day. I spoke to a Border Patrol representative about the fact that she clearly hadn't been given a bath and her hair had not been shampooed and detangled, and they assured me that they had taken care of it and that it was clearly documented in their record keeping. The little girl was nonverbal, so I asked another girl from the same cell why the Border Patrol is saying the 4-year-old was given a bath when she clearly had not been. The older child told me that the Border Patrol came to give the 4-year-old a shower, but she did not want to, and the 7 or 8-year-old girl who was taking care of her was unable to persuade her. Apparently, the Border Patrol marked her down as having been given a shower, even though it was visibly obvious that she had not, and a child in the same cell confirmed that she had not. In the first 2 days alone, June 17th and 18th, we were denied access to 10 children who were quarantined. 7 of the children were between the ages of 0 and 9 years of age, according to the roster we were provided. We repeatedly requested to meet with the quarantined children and to see the conditions in which they were being kept and the medical care, but our requests were denied. Eventually, they allowed us to interview by telephone 3 of the older children who were quarantined, including one child mother who was quarantined with her 2-year-old daughter. We prepared declarations of those 3 children describing the conditions in which they were kept, but they would only allow 2 of the children to sign the declarations and not the child mother. Multiple of the children we interviewed described the same 3 meals a day. Essentially, it was instant oatmeal, a cookie, and a pouch of Kool-Aid for breakfast, instant soup, a cookie, and another pouch of Kool-Aid for lunch, and a frozen burrito and plastic wrap, a cookie, and another pouch of Kool-Aid for dinner. Most children described the Kool-Aid as juice. However, we requested meals to be brought to the children when interviews were lengthy, and I personally observed that the juice they were given 3 times a day was in fact Kool-Aid. As described in the declarations, they were not fed any fruit, vegetables, milk, or any healthy and nutritious foods for the entire time they were kept at this facility. During the 4 days our team was at this facility, I repeatedly saw children crying, some inconsolably, and falling asleep in the conference room during their interviews. On June 20th, 2019, there was no running water in the main building, and so I had to be escorted across the facility to use the bathroom in another structure. During interviews, I witnessed children trying to take care of younger children repeatedly. In fact, one of the girls I interviewed was holding a nonverbal, dirty, and ill-kempt but beautiful 4-year-old girl in her arms during our interview when an 8-year-old girl was crying inconsolably. The older girl asked if the 8-year-old could come over to her and explained she was taking care of both children. The caregiver was only 14 years old, and for the rest of the interview, held and tried to comfort both of the little girls. The 8-year-old curled up in the older girl's arms in a semi-fetal position. Another girl brought in a 2-year-old boy she was taking care of. The boy was not wearing any diapers. When I asked her about it, she shrugged, and then a short while later, the boy urinated all over himself, his pants, and the conference room chair. I swear under the penalty of perjury, the above is true and accurate. Signed, W. Warren H. Binford, June 26, 2019.